Welcome, everybody, to our new podcast. This is going to be a good one, and it's our CGI show. My name is Tony, and I am a real person, but everything around me is green screen.
Yeah, and I'm Bill, and I'm not really here.
He's all blue screened up. CGI.
Yes.
You, remember 15 to 20 years ago, we're like, I don't know who came up with this CGI, but this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And now what are we saying? Jesus
Get
H.
rid of it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was really on board. I got to the point where I was going to... I had to deal with it. I wanted to be an animator when I was younger, and everything started going towards computers. And I was always no, animation is cells and line drawing and
Don Bluth rules.
Right, all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to do this stupid digital crap.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, even though beta tapes were the better technology, VHS still jumped on.
Yes.
Unfortunately, digital animation is the thing now, and not that it doesn't take talent. I just think it's a different talent than it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with nowadays is they're just using that new talent obsessively, and it's just too much.
Yeah.
Too much. I'm on the bandwagon in that I think it's useful in certain places where you just absolutely cannot use regular special effects. But
quick example, Mad Max Fury Road, when the sandstorm, when they go into it and it's blowing the people around, you can't really do that. Right. And that was fine.
Yeah, and it was done so well that you still couldn't really tell as much as
the real from the
fake. Yeah. As some movies, you can just be like, oh, there's CGI. There's CGI. Oh, that's CGI.
Yeah.
So
I believe that you should use it, like you just said, for decorating the backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you have to build a city, do that. Or one of the great things they do with it is the small, just touch up on face.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for instance, one of the best of recent memory, Andy Serkis's work in Gollum as Gollum, and in the 2 reboot Planet of the Apes movies.
Mm-hmm.
And they're amazing. It's amazing, and because the new technology where there's a dot on every inch of your face and it records everything. But and I'm sorry, but it's a great example of great CGI. It's Jar Jar Binks.
Mm-hmm.
The first all CGI character, and he was phenomenal looking, and it's really well done. And but now it's everything. It's everywhere.
It's every possible. It's background. It's what we're sitting at. It's the character next to you.
Yeah.
It's just everything.
The thing you're drinking. Yeah. They might want, let's make that a purple drink, and they'll just digitally,
No, I think we've gotten lazy. Filming has become quite easy. I mean, anybody with a cell phone.
Do with I was gonna say with a phone.
Can go out there and make movies, which is phenomenal, and that's great.
Which means we need to sign off and go make something.
But too many people just oh, mess that up. I'll fix it in post.
Yep.
I'll fix it in post.
Yep.
Oh, I can do this. I'll fix it in post. And it's just lazy work.
It is. You're right.
So.
And as any budding filmmaker knows, the words "I'll fix it in post" should never be used. No, CGI, as the technology gets better, the presentation gets worse, if that makes any sense. Even in the great, and they're all 3 great, Lord of the Rings trilogy, the last one, Return of the King, the big battles, there's moments where it's just all CGI, everything you're looking at. And I've spoken on this before, the scene where Orlando Bloom is on the back of that big elephant thing.
Big mammoth-looking thing,
and he's shooting arrows into different things, and he's runs down the elephant and then slides down the tail and all. He's not real, and nothing around him, and it doesn't look real. It looks really phony. Whereas Lord of the Rings and, Lord of the first one, it was used, I don't want to say sparingly because it's almost all CGI, but not overly done to where it looks phony.
Right.
Because if you do it for too long, everything your mind and eyes, I guess, start to focus and like, oh, this is starting to look unreal now.
Right.
Great example, King Kong, the Peter Jackson remake.
Gotcha.
King Kong, Andy Serkis again. King Kong was phenomenal. The character, what they did with him, how he looked, and his size and his face, and it was wonderful work. And the scene where Jack Black and Adrian Brody and the crew are running from the dinosaurs and looks CGI, you know, and to the point where, because that sequence goes on for about 15-20 minutes, and it just looks worse and worse the more dinosaurs they bring on, the more things they do, people being flipped around and jumping and swinging, and it looks phony. Same with not Last Crusade, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, Indiana Jones.
Yeah, that was
way too much CGI all over that thing, and I don't know.
Well, yeah, I think it's lazy filmmaking. You know, you take back to some of the special effects, you know, from the 70s. You got Star Wars.
Yeah.
You know, you needed a certain shot. You figured out the technology to do that shot. Even with the Matrix, the first one with the bullet time, you know. Okay, well, how are we going to make this shot happen and not make it look stupid? Let's invent a whole nother technology around it. I mean, ILM is who they are because they invented so many, you know, different styles and ways of doing things. You know, George Lucas didn't make that much money, you know, in the beginning. It was what he got from ILM and the technologies that he used to make, you know, films with. I mean, even Jurassic Park and the wonderful CGI in that.
The first
was
time,
ILM.
Yeah.
You know,
but they smartly mixed it with real puppetry.
Right. But I think they're getting lazy now. It's no longer, okay, this is a difficult thing to do. So, you know, let's invent how we're going to do this and put all your time into that. It seems like nowadays when you watch DVD features, it's more about, oh yeah, we had like 3 months to do this entire scene, you know, and we had to get it out there because the producers wanted it. You know, and so it seems to me like you're doing a disservice, for one, when it comes to CGI. We're not only overusing it, but we're also expecting these digital artists to, you know, just turn it out like it's, you know, a piece of paper.
Right. And actually, you brought up a good point. The film producers, the studios are part of the problem. Because nowadays, before a script is even written, they have a release date.
Right.
We want that for July 4th weekend.
Yep. We want
Write
that out
it
before Christmas.
Do it. Get it out. Yeah. Exactly. And that's part of the problem. These guys are rushing. Not Russian.
Not Russian.
Nostrovia, let's get this done. No, they're rushing. Sorry. They're. We need to get back to good old American CGI. Side note, everyone. It's hot. Are you hot? It's
warm.
Hot in the studio today.
It's warm.
All right.
But
I'm going to throw a ball your way and go turn up the air. But no, do you think that it's... Yeah, I think that's part of the problem. And in turn makes it lazy filmmaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
And even just CGI in itself can be just considered lazy filmmaking. It's like, we need this character there.
I agree.
We need this character there, so let's create it. We need this scenery, let's create it. And you don't need that as much. I think we're going to find out in the new Star Wars, you know, that just seeing the trailer, I'm already psyched about it. And we're not going to do a Star Wars thing now, but they are using, most of it is real props. I mean, they
it's a mixture.
X-Wings. They built, you know, the Millennium Falcon. They, you know, they built the stuff instead of just being lazy and throwing it out. And,
the little, everybody's seen the trailer by now. The little round
BB-8.
Yeah, the droid is both
Mm-hmm.
He's real, and there are moments when they need CGI.
Yeah, but he moves like that though. If you see at the convention, which I wasn't able to go to, he rolls out on stage. I mean, he works the way he's supposed to work.
I agree.
And he's just not, unfortunately. And I love George Lucas. He created one of the series of all times that is very dear to my heart.
Too.
But you see him on special features and documentaries, and instantly with Phantom Menace. They put up the storyboards, and he has his big marker, and he's walking through going, computer generated, computer generated. That's going to be computer generated. And it's just like, oh, well, no, let's figure out, do we need to have it computer generated? Not just instantly because you can.
On the special features of the Phantom Menace, they show a little bit of George Lucas had Spielberg on the set one day. And he was walking around this mostly empty set, saying, and the droids are going to come here, and this ship's going to come down here, and this here, and we're going to draw all this in. And Spielberg's like, it's going to look fantastic. I'm like, stop encouraging him, Steve.
Yeah, really?
You're standing in an empty field with a couple of backdrops, and he's telling you he's drawing everything else. Stop it.
Right.
But no, it's a big problem, and you're right, it is lazy filmmaking. And isn't it more fun to create with hands than mouse?
I would think so.
I mean, look, I'm not Mr. Technology, and when we started this podcast, I'm still getting high off of the fact that I can even edit this thing together, and add music to it and whatever. But it would be more fun if I could go in another room and had a little orchestra and make our own theme and record that, and you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't know. You'd think it would be more exciting.
Mm-hmm. I think it would just take away. I mean, I always thought making movies is supposed to be fun and exciting and memorable, and you're creating something that wasn't there.
Yeah.
But I would think it would be more fun to
right.
mess with, the foams and see how things are being made, and oh wow, look at that set piece, that is so amazing. Instead of, I would think actors have to hate it most of the time.
I've heard actors complain about it.
Just to be looking at a green pillar and oh, that's going to be a giant. No, it's a green pillar.
Christopher Lee said that he loved his time working for Peter Jackson on the Lord of the Rings stuff, and he said, but it was annoying because he'd be there by himself in his costume and around all this technology and a big green screen behind him.
Ian McKellen in The Hobbit, he totally broke down because of it. Because instead of the Lord of the Rings where they did, new tech, they did forced perspective, people in front and people in back, with this 3D technology that they're throwing around like
that's another podcast.
That's another podcast.
Yeah.
They had him in another room in kind of a remade set that was all green screen,
I remember that.
And he couldn't do it. Come on, Ian McKellen, he's a great actor, and this poor guy is, he's used to getting
respect.
Respect. That's good. But no, he's used to getting feedback from one another. You're acting well. I'm gonna feed off of that, and it's gonna help me perform better. And he's in a room by himself half the time, and he totally broke down and couldn't do it. And I don't blame the guy.
I don't either.
I'm surprised he didn't walk off the movie because of it.
Yeah, I mean, your newer actors, they're fine with it. They're used to it. That's what they're coming up with. They're going to freak out if they're on a set with 50 people. I'm like, wait a minute, I got to react to everybody? Holy shit. Yeah, I don't know. It's a blessing and a curse. I mean, that's going to be and will always be the case of CGI, and I guess the theme of this podcast. Blessing and a curse. I remember the first time I saw CGI, and it was Forrest Gump. The first time I noticed it, I guess.
Right.
Because I was already a fan of Gary Sinise from other movies. And I hadn't read anything or heard anything about any car accidents or machinery accident.
Well, damn.
Right. Something bit me. Oh, boy, is that movie overrated. Number one on our overrated movies podcast. That'll be a big... Anyway. Gary Sinise, after Vietnam, Lieutenant Dan lost his legs.
Right.
And I'm looking, and I'm like, well, they do the old-fashioned, and just shoot from an angle, pull the legs back, and tie off the ends. And then there's a point where he goes to swim, and he gets up on the edge of the boat, and he does a complete 360 where you can't fake it if your legs are... And he jumps in, and we follow him into the... Like, wait a minute, Gary Sinise has legs. Where are those goddamn legs? And it was bothering. And I saw that movie twice in the theater because of my girlfriend. But, and both times, the rest of the movie, I can't figure out
where's his legs.
And then
I get that when he's in the bed, when he first had his legs amputated, and he falls out of the bed.
Yeah.
I kind of noticed there. I was kind of like, wow, that's not bad. That's
and then
pretty
for
good.
The rest of the movie, I'm trying to, and then I saw a making of, and they blued up his, and that was my first experience on, wow, this CGI is amazing, and then of course, the following year or the same year maybe they blew up the White House in Independence Day, and that looked great.
Right.
And then unfortunately, Roland Emmerich saw that. Well, he directed it and said, you know what? I'm going to make movies where I do nothing but blow up around the world monuments and famous...
All right.
Yeah. And I really don't... I can't pinpoint a time where CGI started to take a downward spiral. It had to be somewhere in the mid-2000s, maybe?
Probably.
Early?
Yeah, it would have to be something like that. I think whenever the sequels start kind of coming in... Because, I mean, you can say, my best and worsts. A lot of them are going to be, okay, one of the better CGI moments, Jurassic Park. The first one.
One of the all-time great examples.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You see them, you're with them when they see the Brontosaurus for the first time. It's like, wow, that is some amazing CGI work.
And another thing, the way he cut that scene, we see one person's reaction. Another. It's nowadays we're too quick to look at our CGI. Right. Go. There's no sense of wonder. Anyway, go on.
But that's the first one, and that was 20-some years ago.
Yeah, 93.
Yeah, and then you get, it's not out yet, or it might be. I just haven't seen it.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. The preview for the new one.
Jurassic World.
I look at the CGI and I'm just like, eh.
Yeah,
that looks terrible.
I'm underwhelmed.
Yeah. And it's just like, okay, well, where can you go from, 20-some years ago to 2 weeks from now, and the CGI looks...
It looks phony. It looks CGI.
Yeah, so phony.
I'm hoping that there will be some puppetry, but they're not showing it in the preview at all.
And then the original Matrix. You had the original Matrix, and the stuff in there looked phenomenal. How do you get to that point to the second and third one?
When he fights all the Agent Smiths... It looks so bad.
It looks terrible.
So bad. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, as the technology gets better, the CGI gets worse. And is it getting worse, or is it lazily being used?
I think it's lazy, because one that didn't come out too long...
being used lazily.
Yeah. One that came out not too long ago, and it's phenomenal, is Life of Pi.
Oh, yeah. I have that... we'll do it now.
Okay.
It's in my top 4 best examples of CGI.
Yeah. Done beautifully.
And it was also my favorite movie of that year.
So, to say that they can't do it nowadays...
And even though I hated the movies, The Lion and Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe was amazing.
Even that was good. And I should have brought those up during our sequel episode. But
Because
I actually liked, other than the third one, the first two.
Is there a third one?
Yeah, there's...
Oh, God. It's fine that you didn't.
Dawn Treader or something of the Dawn Treader.
Oh, yeah, Voyage of the
Dawn Treader, yeah. So.
Life of Pi. Since we brought it up, I have my personal 4 best examples of CGI. I guess I should throw Forrest Gump in there. All the explosions in Vietnam and everything. But Life of Pi, Jurassic Park, which we spoke about, Avatar, and Terminator 2, I think are probably the best examples of CGI.
And they were made, other than Life of Pi and, what was the other one you had in there?
Avatar.
Those are movies that were made 20-some years ago.
Well, except Avatar. Yeah.
Except for Avatar and Life of Pi.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And to watch T2 today, That's a good alliteration.
Yeah, T2 today.
T2 today.
Say that 10 times without stuttering.
Yeah. To totally take in T2 today. Thank you, folks.
There you go.
It still looks fantastic. It still looks amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the new Terminator doesn't thrill me as much either.
I'm not as excited. I'll probably still watch it. But yeah.
But the CGI looks CGI in that movie.
Yeah.
And they're doing the same thing, the liquid metal guy. And I'm like, well, wait, that doesn't look as good as 20 plus years ago.
I know, with Abyss.
How?
I mean, Abyss.
Oh my God, that started the liquid and metal thing.
Just how they did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't like they did it a bit with Tron Legacy, and I love it because they tried to make the blanking on names again, the younger version of
Bridges.
We'll just do that. Whatever
I don't remember his name. Yeah.
Flynn.
Flynn, thank you. Yeah.
They tried to make him look younger, and it.
With Bridges' face?
Yeah.
And that looked bad.
It looked plastic.
It did look bad.
It's the same thing they've been doing with these newer movies. Like, you see Arnold Schwarzenegger as a younger person in the trailer briefly, but it looks plastic.
It doesn't look right.
It doesn't look correct.
Yeah, that's why, just adjust. Don't do the whole face and CGI it on something else. Take Arnold now. Kind of CGI his eyes. I mean, can you do it just a little bit?
If you can do it with Photoshop, I'm sure they can take it and do something with it.
So do that. Don't put a whole. I don't know. It's ridiculous. But those four, I think, are the best.
Oh, I'd have to agree.
I just recently rewatched Jurassic Park 1 and 2. I'm gonna have to watch 3 or what? I just recently watched 1 and 3. I'm gonna have to watch 2 because of my son. But, and yeah, I still get filled with awe and this is a tip of the hat to Spielberg and his special effects crew, Stan Winston included, who we'll bring up later.
Right.
It's still jaw-dropping. I've seen Jurassic Park probably 15 times.
Yeah.
The T-Rex sequence is still. I'm edge of my seat. I'm like, oh my God.
That's pretty crazy.
And because they perfectly mix. That whole sequence lasts about 10 plus minutes.
Yeah.
And it's CGI and real time.
I like when things are side by side. And if you take the original Jurassic Park with, when they're running through the field and you have, I can't remember what type of dinosaurs they are, but there's 40
heads.
of them running past them and jumping over, and they're trying to get away from it. You have that, and you're in that moment. And then on the new trailer, you have Chris Pratt on his motorcycle with
through a bunch of
velociraptors chasing, and it
looks phony.
It looks phony.
One thing I noticed about the original Jurassic Park, that scene you were just talking about, they can't figure out why that herd is running. Turns out to be the T-Rex,
right, the T-Rex is coming
hunting.
Through.
But it's the middle of the day, everything's bright, and nothing looks CGI.
Yeah.
But him and Sam Neill and the two kids, Dr. Grant and the two kids, there's this huge fallen tree or log or whatever,
in the middle,
and they jump over and hide behind it. And as they're hiding, they duck down, and the camera's still there, and the herd is jumping over and you see
it's all shaking.
It's moving because they keep clipping it as they're hopping over. And I was thinking to myself, today they would CGI the damn log.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't have to hire a few people to move it that. Yeah.
Exactly.
They really would. And I'm thinking, my God, are we to this to where we're gonna worry about whether a log or a tree is real? And yeah, they would. They would CGI that damn log today.
Definitely.
It's sad. But yeah, it's lazy filmmaking, and you're right.
And I got a lot of faith for J.J. Abrams.
Oh, tons, because he has proven the perfect mixture of, because especially the second Star Trek, because there's that point at the end where they're chasing Khan through the city,
right,
out of the ship, through the city, and it's surrounded by CGI. But unlike the Star Wars prequels, not everything is CGI. Like in the Star Wars prequel, the floor they're standing on is digital. But yeah, all the stuff they're moving past, flying cars and stuff, that's all CGI, and he painted the background. But they're really moving past barriers, and these things are really there,
right?
But so yeah, I have nothing but. I want December to get here for two reasons. I'll say November, but number one, because Star Wars, and number 2, so we can get going because
On this.
we have so much to say
yeah.
on these. Real quick, because we mentioned the best. In my opinion, the worst CGI ever. I have 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
The worst ever for me is I Am Legend.
I Am Legend.
And not because I hated the movie
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sick of Will Smith and I think that movie was atrocious and they totally destroyed a great story. It's based on a story by
Mm-hmm.
Richard Madsen, but it is a piece of crap movie. But the
guys in it.
Yeah, and they're supposed to be freaking vampires. Don't get me started, but these
they're
weird,
not supposed to be zombie-ish looking people.
These weird bald-headed zombies.
Yeah.
There's not a real person in the bunch. They're all CGI,
Mm-hmm.
and they all look bad.
Yeah.
They look phony. And that's off the top of my head. I mean, I did a little research, but of all the ones I come up with, that's probably the worst.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks pretty bad.
And we already spoke of the dinosaurs in King Kong.
Mm-hmm.
After the great King Kong CGI, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But the Scorpion King.
Oh my God.
When The Rock became half man, half scorpion.
Was that the Scorpion? I thought wasn't that that wasn't the second Mummy movie when he first comes out?
No, they did it. You're right. The backstory.
And he comes out, and then they went to the Scorpion King.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm sorry, folks, because I don't care about any of them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and he's this half man, half scorpion, and it's the worst thing I've ever seen.
Oh, it was terrible.
I mean, Ray Harryhausen's stuff, looks fake now because,
Mm-hmm.
but it still looks great. But it makes his stuff look like CGI.
Yeah.
It is that bad. It looks like a CGI test.
Yeah, again,
it's
it's
horrible.
Kind of plastic. It looked.
Yeah.
It looked.
And they close up on his face, and he's moving, and you could tell they tried to blend the Rock's
Mm-hmm.
face with. It was just.
When was
it's
that movie?
The word. Early 2000s.
Early 2000.
Yeah.
Looked similar to. No, it looked worse than the crazy exploding head in Total Recall.
You're right. It did. It looked really. Yeah, you're right. I'll give you that. Yeah. Oh, and real quick, and then we'll get to some other stuff here. On CGI. When I said you should use it to paint backgrounds, or
Mm-hmm.
when we said paint backgrounds and just maybe touch up faces. Great examples of that. Two-Face in The Dark Knight. His face is half CGI instead of makeup, even though at the same time that makes me a hypocrite because I'm like, why not just do a bunch of makeup?
Yeah.
Because Rick Baker's great work in American Werewolf, you could see deep into Griffin Dune.
Now that you're saying that,
So
yes, definitely.
But it looked fine,
Uh-huh.
CGI. And Ralph Fiennes in Potter, in Harry Potter.
He looked a little corny, but that's
but
more along the lines just of how I envisioned him, not necessarily.
Well, yeah, exactly. But it looked
facts.
Yeah, I thought it was makeup. And come to find out that his nose area was all digital. I'm like, I didn't know that. I thought it was, I mean, they did some makeup, but then drew over that. I thought it was all makeup, so kudos to that. But yeah, just touch up faces and paint backgrounds and throw real cars.
There you go. Throw real cars.
Yeah.
One of the bad ones for me, the Hulk.
The first one?
The first one.
Yeah, here's the thing. I like that movie better than most people do.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more successful than the Edward Norton version of the Hulk, even though I like that too-ish.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right.
Mm-hmm.
When it's more interesting when he's not the Hulk.
Yeah,
they film it like a comic book with the frames, and the story's really good. And I thought Banner was fine.
Mm-hmm.
And old Sam Elliott's in it. But yeah, you're right. Once this, I'm like, ugh. And he fights that three-headed dog thing at the end, and this is bad. It's just bad CGI. And it's funny because at the time I said, well, it's Ang Lee. He's out of his element.
Mm-hmm.
He usually makes dramatic films or whatever.
Right.
Maybe he shouldn't mess around with CGI. And then we just gave he's one of the top 4 examples. He directed Life of Pi, and the CGI in that is phenomenal. But I mean, you could argue that it's years later, but
it's a little bit.
It looked bad. It looked really
terrible,
bad. And that was too bad.
But you were mentioning Rick Baker. Should we start getting into that, or you have some other worst ones?
Oh no, we're done with all that. Or I am. Rick Baker. Rick Baker, who recently announced his retirement.
Yeah, it's on our
it's on our
group.
Yeah, Bill put it up there. It's a sad state, and part of what led us to this podcast.
Yeah. What's sad is what did it for me is the comment that he's retiring, because he doesn't get enough work.
Yeah, Rick Baker.
Rick Baker does not get enough work.
Okay, keep in mind what Bill just said, and then we're going to say something. Rick Baker, makeup genius from way back, does not get enough work today, so he's retiring. This is the man who won. He was nominated for 12 Oscars. Won 7. 7. Won 7 Oscars. He won for The Wolfman. You know, forget about what you think of the movies. Remember the work.
Yeah.
The Nutty Professor, which I kind of like the first one, but his makeup is phenomenal. He won for The Grinch. He won for Ed Wood. The phenomenal makeup on... I mean, you lost Martin Landau. He was Bela Lugosi come to life. Yeah. Harry and the Hendersons. Anybody remember that? And Men in Black, which was great work. And his first Oscar, they started the category for him. So they could give him an Oscar, was his groundbreaking work on An American Werewolf in London, which we spoke about. The Oscars, who are usually closed-minded, said his work is so good, we're going to have to open a new category. So they started, and that's why we now have the Best Makeup category, because he did such a great groundbreaking job. This is the man who is now retiring and saying there's not enough work for me.
To this day, I do not think there is any other person out there, or any, at least example of it, of a wolf transition from man to a werewolf that tops Rick Baker's.
No, there's one that almost, it doesn't top it, but it equals it for me.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about him in a moment.
Okay.
Rob Bottin. Or that's how you pronounce his name. All my life I've said Rob Bottin. But who did the same year The Howling.
Oh, okay.
And he studied under Rick Baker.
Yeah.
He was Rick Baker's protege.
Honestly, I thought that was Rick Baker.
No, yeah.
No, that's somebody different.
Well, that's a compliment to Rob Bottin.
Yeah,
exactly. But no, Rick Baker, and the one, and just real quick, his other great makeup work, his stuff with John Landis is, American Werewolf, which, Coming to America, the great makeup on Murphy and Arsenio Hall, and Thriller, the Michael Jackson video. That's all Rick Baker. Yeah. Right there. But no, he, just talking briefly about American Werewolf. Of course, it's genius. We don't need to talk about how genius it is, the makeup and the movie, but they did it. If you think of every werewolf transformation in every werewolf movie ever, it's all shadowy, moonlight, dark, woods, basement, dark room, castle. He's in an apartment, David Naughton.
Middle of his apartment
building. All
building.
the lights are on.
Yep.
We're seeing everything. There's nothing to hide. You can't shade anything. It's all bright. And that in itself was daring at the time. I mean, come on. And it was Baker's suggestion. Landis said, well, we should shadow it here. And Baker said, no, I think we should let's show it all. Let's do it. He says, I can do it. Let's do it. And there you go real quick. That's the problem with today. I've got millions of gallons of rubber and foam and fake blood, and I've got a crew of 25. I can do it. Let's do it. Nah, I got my guy at his computer. He'll draw it, That's the problem. And it's sad that, like Rick Baker's hero was Jack P. Pierce, who did all the Universal monsters. Everyone you can think of, from the big to the small. That was all one guy.
Right.
And his team. And that was, Rick Baker saw that when he was a kid, wanted to get into it, learned his craft, and became the best. He was also a big fan of Dick Smith, who we'll talk about. But, and this guy can't find work.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to hire him. It's sad. I wouldn't, here's what I'd do. I'd hire Rick Baker if I was making a horror movie or a sci-fi or anything that needed even a little makeup. Rick Baker first, and then, do I need a sunset? Yeah, I'll CGI that. You know what I mean? That's what you CGI. You let Rick Baker create.
Rick Baker's the type of person you bring in for consulting as well as doing movies.
Yeah,
it's exactly. Like, okay, we're going to make this movie. I need, my cinematographer if you're not doing it yourself. Yeah, I need, these key players. Let's bring in Rick Baker, because whatever I plan to do on the screen, I need his know-how and his thought process.
And he'll know. Well, you don't want to show it from that angle because blah.
You know.
You want to do this.
Yeah, just like you were saying about American Werewolf in London. We might be able to cover that up. No, I can do it.
Yeah, I'll do it.
No,
Trust
I'll do
me.
it.
Yeah.
Just don't worry about it.
Exactly.
I'll get it done.
Yeah. And man, did he? Yeah.
And it will look phenomenal.
He created a whole new way of transforming werewolves and created a whole new Oscar category.
Yeah.
Just in one saying, I'll do it.
And this guy is
hurting for work.
Yeah.
And, I mean, regardless of the movie, I wasn't a fan of the Wolfman remake recently, but 2011, that's only 4 years ago, he just won an Oscar for that 4 years ago, and he can't find work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Multi-Oscar winner, and he's retired.
7-time. He has won more Oscars than Robert De Niro, Marlon Brando, Katharine Hepburn.
Amazing.
It's sad. It's sad, and it speaks to what we're talking about on this podcast.
Yeah. And, another great, maybe a little bit less than Rick Baker. I think Rick Baker's up there on my list. But Tom Savini, I mean, he's been retired for a while now.
Tom Savini, well, he's not retired. He's acting in straight-to-video stuff
but his
more
special effects work.
Yeah, he barely... I looked him up, and he did a couple of things that I had never heard of. I'd never heard of him.
Mm-hmm.
But he's done in the last 10 years, like maybe 3 special effects stuff, but it's all acting gigs now.
Yeah.
And that's sad.
But probably as well, he just can't get the work that he used to, because they're just not employing the special effects artists as
and the low budget horror flicks that do use real stuff can't afford it.
Yeah, can't afford them.
Yeah. And Hollywood doesn't want it. Yeah, he's never been nominated for an Oscar, and he changed movie gore and with Dawn of the Dead in 1978. I mean, you'd never seen anybody ripped apart with their entrails being eaten while they're still screaming. You've never seen that. The famous machete in the head.
In the head.
That was the first time. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, you never, I mean, of course he did the Romero, he did Dawn and Day. He did Creepshow. Maniac, and a lot of people don't remember that, but the guy walking around scalping models and making a skin weird thing. And he did Friday the 13th, part 1. And it's funny.
4.
Huh?
And
4, excuse me. He came back for 4 because they wanted to kill off Jason.
Right.
Which leads me to this cool comment he made. He has, because I'm not a fan of the Friday the 13th series. I never have been. I like the gore.
Shout out to Betty Palmer.
Oh yeah, rest in peace, Betsy Palmer.
Betsy Palmer.
Yeah. We lost the great, I think, Betsy Palmer. That's Mother Voorhees for anybody.
Great. I'm not sure. Didn't really see much of her other stuff.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Iconic.
I didn't know. Yeah, she is iconic, and it's weird because I think she was in a show in the 50s that she's known for, so she's iconic.
Yeah.
Over decades.
In her own way.
Yeah. And but it's funny, Savini did part 1 and he was asked to do part 2 and he turned it down. He's like, "Well, Jason's dead." And they were like, No, remember he pops out of the water and he's like, "That's a dream."
That was a dream.
But he has a great quote, and this is from Savini, and I quote, "If you watch a Friday the 13th movie past part 1, you're stupid." Cuz there is no Jason. Jason is a kid that died in the first movie. There shouldn't be a Jason. I mean, come on. Yes, thank you, Tom. And he's not afraid to say that.
This is coming from a man who came back and forth just to kill him off.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, "Oh, you're killing him? You got it." And that is also one of the all-time great effects with the machete and Jason's face just sliding down the machete. Whoop, I slid into the microphone there.
And for our 80s fans podcast, Corey Feldman.
Corey Feldman, baby. He's back.
I can't bring him in as much as Michael Bay.
Right, yeah.
But I'm going to bring Corey Feldman in.
We got it. We snuck Corey Feldman back in. Yeah. That's a great part of our 80s podcast. But yeah, he mostly acts now in little bullshit roles, but he did a great one from Dusk Till Dawn, Sex Machine. Yeah. He's been in the machine. And Robert Rodriguez always uses him, thank God, and Tarantino.
Well, you got to give the guy a little bit of respect where it's due.
Yeah, you got to give him a lot of respect. Excuse me, and it's funny, a lot of people say that he seems grouchy and grumpy. And we met him at a show, not, as much as you can meet somebody at their table. And he didn't seem very welcoming, and, Yeah, his horror movie gore is missed. I mean, he mostly stayed in the horror field.
Yeah.
And it's
I don't think he
missed.
ever moved
And
out, but-
he doesn't do anything anymore. Nobody wants him. That's the problem. Nobody wants him. But you talked about Rob Bottin, who I've only recently started calling him because I looked it up. It's Bottin. It's spelled Botan. But he studied under Rick Baker, and of all Rick Baker's early work, he was on Rick Baker. Like, he helped work American Werewolf in London, and he was offered the job on The Howling. And he even asked Baker, hey, this is the same year, we're both doing Werewolf, are you sure? Baker's like, go, man, go, do it, let's see what you got. And so he did, again, same year, flip side of the same coin, groundbreaking effects work on how to transform into a wolf. And his wolves were standing wolves.
Right.
They were but they still look like wolves. And the great thing about what Baker and Bottin did, they made it look painful. Lon Chaney just lays there and they superimpose, over his face, but it hurts because if
your body is changing.
Your body changes into a snout and your ears pop out of your head and
your
fangs
bone structure,
come out.
just the cracking of the bones for going into the new positions.
Yeah, and it hurts, man, and it's bloody, you know, like, and especially in The Howling, like when things would change, blood vessels would break, and they were both still the two greatest werewolf transformations ever on film. He actually, Rob Bottin won one Oscar, but not on his own, as part of a team for Total Recall. Okay. They all won. He was on that team, and they all won. He was nominated, though, for something he should have taken home the Oscar for, The Great Legend.
Oh, Legend.
1985.
Yeah.
That Tim Curry's outfit is Rob Bottin.
Whatever it was.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Character. Darkness. Yeah.
That's Rob Bottin, and all the great creature work. That's all Rob Bottin. Nominated for that, lost. I don't know what he lost to. I didn't want to look.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to get mad. But he did Carpenter's The Thing.
Okay.
That speaks to itself. He did The Howling. He did all the creatures in The Explorers.
Okay.
Or Explorers. Did The Witches of Eastwick. RoboCop. Him and Stan Winston, who we'll bring up in a minute. And Rob Bottin did Seven.
Oh.
And since then, he's done little bit work and things, but other than that, he's not needed either.
Yeah,
it's
not
sad.
to the scale that he did.
He's forgotten as well. And he wrote a rejected script for Freddy vs. Jason.
Oh, really?
There was like 15 scripts by different people, and he wrote one because he wanted to do the effects. And he wrote it effects heavy, and they rejected it, which probably means it was wonderful.
Yeah, it's probably going to be awesome.
Yeah. But, I don't hate that movie, but I'm not... But could you imagine if something Rob Bottin did and did his own special effects? I don't know. It's sad. It gets me sad talking about these dudes because there's no. I'm sure our friends and family and the people that are listening to this are saying, "Oh, Bottin, that's right." But other than that, any younger listeners, no offense to any younger listeners, but you guys are gonna be like, "Who?
Yeah, really?
Rick Baker?"
Yeah, I get excited. I look at some I always, and I think I've said it before, I don't know which podcast it was, but if you enjoy a movie, stay through the credits. It takes more than just the couple of names at the beginning.
Exactly.
That, made it. But I always get excited when I see Rick Baker's name in the credits, that I didn't expect.
Yeah.
Maleficent. Even though he didn't do a whole lot of work there.
Yeah.
Still seeing his name pop up and, Rick Baker.
Right.
Awesome.
Exactly.
And you're right. Kids nowadays aren't going to,
Yeah.
You're going to have the 30 names for the CGI crew, or the,
Exactly. And what you just said, kids, the younger generation, I should say, we're just going to start accepting it, Like you and me, we watch a movie, and I don't have an example, but, say somebody's face gets ripped off by a bear, and it's all CGI. And you're like, man, what Rick Baker could have done with that.
Oh, yeah.
Or they totally could have. Nowadays, it's going to be like, oh, his face got ripped off. Looks phony. Nobody's, they're just fine with the phoniness. Everything looks like a cartoon.
Yeah.
My dad said it best. When he said, fuck Michael Bay. No. My dad said it best once. He said, he grew up in the time, of course, of the big epic, all the great Heston epics and all the great epics. There was nothing but epics back then. And they would literally spend money to pay people. They don't even use this term anymore. Cast of thousands, and that used to be a term because it was real. And he'd see, you'd have these, even something like Lawrence of Arabia. You'd have these great wide shots, and you'd see thousands of real people on horseback. But my dad said it best. You have them on horseback and they're riding over a hill, and it looks like thousands of people riding over a hill. And CGI makes it look like they're being poured over a hill out of a cup. It doesn't look real. They're just kind of sliding over the hill, and it doesn't look right. And that's true. And it's getting, again, I don't know, it's getting worse. I mean, we keep going back to that point, but it's getting worse.
Yeah. Well, I teach digital photography, or I've taught digital photography, and one thing I used to tell my students all the time between digital and film, I always think that you should play with film first before you go to the digital. Digital is great and all, but it just does not look the same as an actual image imposed than it does with a bunch of pixels.
Digital should be a helper.
Yeah, digital should be a helper. It shouldn't be the end all of everything.
Digital should be the sous chef, not the chef.
Ah, love it.
Thank you.
That's great.
Just off the top there, everybody. And speaking on that, Stan Winston. Not sous chefs, but what you just said. So Stan Winston can make a mean meatloaf, let me tell you. The great Stan Winston, who unfortunately we're losing everybody. We lost him recently. We lost the great Dick Smith. Stan Winston did just what you said. He created the Terminator and the Predator. Those are his creations, and he perfectly mixed it. He perfectly did, like you said, mess with the digital for the touch-up, for the rest. And that's what he did, and he has 3 Oscars for Aliens, Terminator 2, that was Stan Winston,
Wonderful.
And Jurassic Park, that was Stan Winston. Yeah, Stan Winston, that's his T-Rex, giant real T-Rex head coming down trying to get the kids,
right?
And they got that plate of glass, and yeah, he worked on Avatar. He did Jeff Bridges' transformation in Starman. He did all the Jurassic Parks, the first 3, and he did one of your. I told you he worked on Avatar. He did one of your favorites, Big Fish. All the makeup and whatever creature effects in that. That's all Stan Winston.
Yeah.
But yeah, and again, who? If you're talking to the younger generation, but he did actually started and did what we have been talking about, the perfect blend of when to use the CGI and when to use the real things that you took all this time to build.
Right.
And it works so perfectly in all of those movies I just mentioned. Predator. Predator wasn't any CGI, it was all
makeup.
But the T2 and Terminator 1 as well.
Right.
He didn't do 3. I'm sorry, he did do 3. But yeah, and he knows when to do it and when not to. And to me, still, the perfect example we already talked about is Jurassic Park. First one. You want to see the perfect blend of CGI and puppetry, or animatronic, or whatever you want to call it. Jurassic Park 1. Yeah. That's it. That's how you blend it perfectly.
Yeah, because even though you had the big epic scenes like with the Brontosaurus or the T-Rex, you still couldn't get as much magic if you didn't have them walking up to the Triceratops.
Yeah.
When they were doing the whole examination scene.
And Sam Neill's on it as he breathes and he's up and down.
And you just
fantastic.
You can't have one without the other, and too many movies are just we don't need that.
Exactly.
We'll just make it.
Right. We'll fix it in post.
Yeah.
Like you said. Well, the great thing about the T-Rex, and we could do a whole podcast on the T-Rex sequence itself, where it breaks out. Yeah. I mean, you see it when you first, they're in the car, the cars have stopped, it's raining, there's a storm.
Little cup.
Yeah, you see the rumble. But they look, and the girl says, where's the T-Rex? Or where's the goat? And then the goat leg flops, and she screams, and then you look at the wires, and you just see his claws come down from it, and those are real.
Mm-hmm.
And then the wires break, and then you see his head just kind of roar, but you don't fully see it. That's real.
Mm-hmm.
When he steps out, that's of course CGI.
Mm-hmm.
But then once he's out, that's real. But every time he runs, it's CGI. And honestly, they all look the same.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot tell. I mean, you know that it's CGI because you can't make a fake thing run like that and move like that. But you can't tell one from the other when it's the real head crashing. And you get an iconic shot when the car's flipped over by now and Sam Neill has the kids right by him and he puts his hands over their mouths. He says, because if you don't move or scream, he can't see us. And there's a shot of them in the background and he's doing that. And you just see this massive hoof or leg or whatever you call it come down in the foreground. And that's real. All the hands grabbing, all the velociraptors, that's real except when they run. Yeah, and it's a perfect blend. There's no better, in my opinion, no better example. Even Avatar, which took special effects to another level, there are moments when you're like, yeah, that's CGI. It's
a lot of it was CGI, but that's what they were going for.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, they weren't trying to make a live action movie with CGI. They were making a CGI movie.
Right, yeah.
So, you know, there was scenes where, you know, when they were people and they were, you know, actual actors, but everything on the planet was, you know, it's meant to be all CGI.
I agree.
So
another one that nobody cares about anymore because he didn't do enough, you know, creature work. Dick Smith, who actually won his one and only Oscar for The Great Amadeus.
Okay.
Doing all the makeup on F. Murray Abraham, and he won an Oscar for that. But he did Brando's stuff in The Godfather and all the squibs, like James Caan getting shot to death on the causeway. Did most famously for The Exorcist. Need I say more? Taxi Driver. When what's that guy's name? Robert De Niro. At the end, before he goes on his rampage. That's what we're saying nowadays. I once knew someone.
That's the guy in Meet the Parents, right?
Yeah. You younger generation. You whippersnappers, you did more than that. The guy from Rocky and Bullwinkle? But at the end of Taxi Driver, when he shaves his head into the mohawk, that's not a real mohawk. It looks like a real mohawk.
Yeah.
I mean, but he took fibers of hair to make it look like the growth was coming back. And all my life, I thought that was a real mohawk. But he also did The Great Scanners, where the head explodes.
Oh, the head explodes, yeah.
And Poltergeist, all the stuff in Poltergeist. That was Dick Smith. And nobody knows him anymore. Yeah. Nobody gives a shit. And just quickly, to the all-time great, all these guys worship the altar of Ray Harryhausen. You show Ray Harryhausen special effects to somebody nowadays, and they'll be like, that looks phony.
But come on.
But it does, but at the same time, it doesn't, because you're in the Harryhausen world. Like, I guess the most recent example for Harryhausen, anyway, Clash of the Titans, the original 1980 Clash of the Titans. I mean, that's all Harryhausen, all the stop motion stuff, and it was all great, and it all looked fantastic. And he also did Jason and the Argonauts and all the Sinbad movies from the 60s and 70s. Mysterious Island and Crabs.
You got to also take the fact they had no CGI.
Yeah, exactly.
They did not have anything close.
But it still looked
to
great.
CGI.
You know what I mean? It looked great, and to this day, it looks great.
They didn't have digital.
They had nothing. Yeah.
It's celluloid.
They didn't have green screen.
It's silver acetate.
They had matte. You think anybody under the age of 35 knows what a matte painting is?
Probably not, unless they're an artist.
For you, it's MATTE, matte painting.
Isn't that a type of paper you can get?
That's it. That's what it is. Yeah. To all you kids, any movies from 1970 and backwards, anything, any castles in the back or monsters, that's a matte painting. They're not there. No, but Harryhausen, I mean, Sam Raimi paid tribute to him in Army of Darkness with fighting the skeletons. Yep. That's right out of Seven Voyages of Sinbad or Jason the Argonauts, whichever. But Monsters Incorporated, the restaurant in Monsters Incorporated is Harryhausen Restaurant. Yeah. And Lucas, Spielberg, Cameron, Peter Jackson have all said that he is one of the top 3 reasons they started making films.
Oh, yeah. Well, again, you had to figure out how to make it work.
Yeah.
We're going to have fight skeletons. Okay, well, how do you do that when you don't have any technology whatsoever?
Yeah.
You know, how do you do that? And you had to invent it.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah,
he
you
did.
have to give respect to these people.
He invented, I guess, stop motion photography.
Yeah.
That's not even used anymore unless Tim Burton does a cartoon. You know? That's right. Lastly, of all the biggies, I guess the new one, and he's keeping it alive when he can, Greg Nicotero.
Mm-hmm.
I just like saying his name. Greg Nicotero. And let me tell you about Greg Nicotero. He came up under Savini. He worked on Savini's crew. He started on Day of the Dead.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of the zombies in Thriller.
Oh, cool.
He worked on it, and he's one of the zombies. He did some makeup of in Misery. He was one of the main guys in Army of Darkness.
Mm-hmm.
And he did a lot of work on the Green Mile. He has over 160 credits.
Wow.
He's got more than any of these big guys
Mm-hmm.
because he's been around and came up, like I said, through Savini. But he's one of the co-creators of The Walking Dead.
Mm.
He directs now. He directs a lot of episodes, and all the gore there, even though they use a lot of CGI, but it's all 80% real stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's Greg Nicotero.
Right.
He's keeping it alive.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a good documentary. It was on Epix, the Epix channel. I don't know if it's available on Netflix or anything yet, but Nightmare Factory.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's only an hour, but it's about him.
No.
And it's really interesting.
Yeah.
And it's a good watch for any of you who care about real hands-on special effects, not hands on a mouse.
Right.
But no, so he's keeping it alive. But again, like we said with Rick Baker, the work isn't there.
Yeah.
Like Walking Dead will someday go off the air.
Right.
Where's Greg Nicotero going to go?
Exactly. And I like that you're bringing up a lot of the smaller people as well. I mean, we've mentioned a lot of big people, but also you mentioned like the squibs and the gunshots.
Yeah.
Lest
we forget.
Those used to be special effects. Somebody got shot multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that was underneath their shirt. Exploded.
Mm-hmm.
And actually causing that blood to come through. And
actors used to say they were scared to do a Sam Peckinpah movie because they would be squibbed up, and squibs hurt when they release. I guess it's a pressure against.
But you brought up like The Walking Dead, where a lot of the gunshots and some of those smaller things, they're CGI in it, and you can tell.
And you can tell every time.
That's just not right.
I love The Walking Dead, and they mix CGI with practical. But it doesn't work because the CGI isn't great CGI.
Yeah, if the CGI stepped it up just a little bit with there, it would be. But
and the CGI stuff they don't need to. Like you need CGI gunshots.
Yeah, they're dead.
Yeah.
Why would there be blood?
Exactly.
Why would there be blood squirting out? They're dead. You would think your heart's not pumping in blood anymore.
Right.
You don't need to have that.
But not only that, it probably takes a good 4 or 5 hours in makeup to make up one zombie, let alone however many they have. What does it take? A half an hour to squib somebody?
Right.
Just say, I don't know. It's an argument that I have a feeling, as long as this podcast keeps going, we'll be having this 5 years down the road.
Oh, yeah.
It's like you said, it's lazy filmmaking. And this goes to a bigger argument. We're losing our creativity.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not just talking about screenplays, ideas. I'm talking about just bringing a screenplay to life. It's helping us. It's forcing us to lose our creativity, Like in a way, it's the equivalent of, we talk about kids growing up today, all they want to do is sit and play video games. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, no, there's a great outdoors out there. Go take a stick, pretend it's a Uzi, and go out in the dirt, and fight bad guys, And it's kind of the same thing in a way.
Yeah.
These guys would rather sit in front of a computer and draw it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that's fun. And when we talk about this, I'm not talking about, even though I prefer original animation, Don Bluth and the like. But I'm not talking about like the Toy Story. It's still amazing when you see a digital cartoon because the things they're doing with it is amazing, and that's fine. Even though I think we should get like every few to draw it again.
Mm-hmm.
But every time they do, nobody goes to see it.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about, gore,
Mm-hmm.
creatures, you know, and even the makeup is getting worse. Excuse me. Now that these guys are gone and their proteges, I don't know where they're going. But Clint Eastwood directed a few years ago J. Edgar with Leonardo DiCaprio about J. Edgar Hoover. Not a great movie. Who cares? But J. Edgar was a famous closet homosexual. And there's a scene where his lover comes in now that they're in their 70s. And it's Armie Hammer, who unfortunately played the Lone Ranger, but he played the twins in Social Network. And he comes in, and he's got the worst old age makeup ever, so much that he can't move. And he's walking in all stiff like Frankenstein's monster. And he sits in this chair, and you can tell as an actor he can't move. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, we should have evolved, and we're going, this looks like something from 1940. This looks bad. And I think with the loss of these guys, or the loss of interest of the Rick Bakers and the Botines and the Savinis, that the craft itself is suffering.
Mm-hmm.
Like all these guys who are doing, I'm not counting Nicotero because he's amazing and he was born of Tom Savini, but all these guys, their craft isn't as good because they're not learning from the masters. They don't care. I don't know. That's my theory.
Well, I think that comes back to the creativity part. We don't do apprenticeships. Yeah. Back in the day, you were good at painting. Even with the old masters, they brought you in young. You started with sweeping the floors. Then maybe you mixed paints, and then maybe from there you got to paint a foot on a masterpiece. Until finally you started your own studio and you became a master yourself. With the special effects artists, again, you had people who worked under these greats, who were apprentices, who learned the trade, learned how to do. I'm sure they didn't start off just like, oh, I'm gonna, go and do a, werewolf in a movie.
Yeah.
No, they probably started off with a squib or, mixing the blood for a scene.
Make the two fangs for me,
And then, finally, Rick Baker's, go do the Howling. Let's see what you got. Take what you learned over here and apply it to yourself.
And they said, you got it.
And they don't do that enough anymore.
No, they don't. And the sad thing, I looked this up. Tom Savini has, and he's had it since the mid-'70s, a school.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the name of it. I should have written it down. But it's the Tom Savini Something Institute.
Mm-hmm.
And he's had it all this time, and it's still going, and he teaches there, and lots of people come in, people like Greg Nicotero, Rick Baker, they'll, come in. And his people used to go on to do all these, work under all these greats, and, he's had people on big movies that we've spoken of work on the teams, and he says the percentages are dropping. It's something like 15% of people who graduate from his institute go on to do anything worthy.
Wow.
And a lot of them, he's seen a higher dropout rate.
Mm-hmm.
People go to CGI. And it's sad, really.
Yeah.
It's sad. Like I said, the creativity is ebbing where it should flow.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that, with people like George Miller, with the new Mad Max, and people like J.J. Abrams, hopefully they'll, with their popularity and making good movies, they'll get people to go back.
That's a good point. 2015 seems to be the year, at least with two, beginning of the year and end of the year, of going back to practical effects, and maybe this will spark something. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm hoping there'll be some spark where people will realize, wow, that looks good.
Or will people just see Jurassic World and Terminator I guess we shouldn't judge those movies yet because the previews could just be showing us certain...
Yeah, I mean, it's an art for editing and trailers as well. But...
Yeah, there could be some puppetry, and it could... But still, what we see looks phony.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm hoping maybe you're right. Maybe this is Miller and Abrams saying, all right, guys, we're fed up. Watch this. See it. Take notes. Do your next movie.
And I know they got two people here who's behind them, so...
That's right. And just because I haven't, you in passing earlier, I'll just say it. And I'm not doing it as a joke this time. one of the largest, probably the biggest villains in this scenario is Michael Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Because and seriously, this time I'm really bringing him up for a reason. He unfortunately he's from our generation, and which doesn't speak well. But he's the one. He cares more about, let's design what all these Transformers can do, and then we'll write a script around that. And
they look good. I'm not saying.
I mean,
they
it
don't
looks
look
good, but what he does with his camera, you can't make out heads or tails.
And is that hiding? Because he also, with his sound, he hides with it. So
that's true. Yeah, sadly, even though it's just sound, and we shouldn't use those words, just a sound category.
No, sound.
But sadly, the Transformers film, Michael Bay, not himself, but his crew, his movies are multiple Oscar winners because of sound and sound editing and things like that. But yeah, he is, to me, he's the public enemy number one, because he cares more about the flashiness and the CGI, and there's not a real Transformer walking through any of his movies.
Yeah, well, what I say about the sound is that he hides his stuff behind sound.
No, I know. I know what you mean. Yeah, it sounds phenomenal.
Is in the front ground, and
like you said as well, we don't know. His CGI could be great, but we can't tell because he has an MTV mind with his movie making. Zip, 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 zip. Camera's moving, and you can't. And I'm sorry to pick on. No, I'm not sorry to pick on Michael Bay, but every movie he does is shit. His first movie, The Rock, I enjoy that. But guess what? He wasn't involved in the writing, and he was. The studio hired him, and that wasn't a Michael Bay film per se.
Right.
And it's stupid, Nick Cage, but it's
you don't
good.
Have a spaceship trying to blow up the Alcatraz either. So.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, and Ed Harris is real, not phony. He's a real guy. And then the Bad Boys movies were stupid. And I remember the CGI cars and then every movie he did just gets worse. Armageddon, I hate, gets worse and worse, and they're messy, and they're CGI messy, and they make it look ridiculous. And yeah, he's, to me, public enemy number one. I don't know if you folks listening to the podcast have figured that out yet, but I'm not a Michael Bay fan.
I don't mind him as much. I think he definitely hides behind a lot of flashiness that doesn't need to be there. But
I also hear he's
enjoy
a
some
tyrant.
of these movies. So.
He's a tyrant on set, I hear. And I'm like, really? Making the kinds of movies you do? You're going to be a tyrant?
Yeah, that doesn't
make
sense.
You should kiss the ass of every actor. And he gets good fucking actors. Frances McDormand, Ed Harris, Sean Connery, and so on and so on. John Turturro was in the first 3 Transformers. And Mark Wahlberg, who I'll never get it. He finally... I mean, he's always had a decent career, done a few things, but he fixed his career. He's on this whole new level of making good, serious films.
Yeah, I think Wes Anderson had something to do with that.
And then he's in,
Or who did?
Oh, I Heart Huckabees? Yeah, that's David Russell.
Loved him in that.
Oh, I love it. That's good. That's a movie that grew on me. Another podcast, but I love it now. I thought, at first. But anyway. Yeah, how do we? This is what we can do, folks. We're magicians. We're talking about how bad Michael Bay is,
and we
can get to I Heart Huckabees, which many of you are probably saying, "What? I've never heard of that."
Yeah, no, but you're saying.
But Mark Wahlberg, and then he's done all this, The Fighter, and he's been doing good work, whether the movies work or not. It's still better work. And then he's in the 4th Transformers movie, and he signed on for 2 more.
Really?
Like, what are you? And he was off. I watched it with my son. I've only seen Transformers 1, 2, and 4, folks, or is this 5? I don't know. Who cares?
It's 4, I believe.
4. But it's the worst one. It's terrible. It's just the dialogue and the action is just mind-numbingly confusing. Yeah, anyway, that's my... But it belongs on this episode, the tirade against Michael Bay.
Yes, definitely does.
So to wrap up, sir, final thoughts on this whole subject.
Really, I kind of already stated. I just hope that, with George Miller and J.J. Abrams, I'm just hoping that people will realize that the quality of real special effects is still needed. Yeah. And that we're not going to, just go into the wasteland of CGI too much. And that's coming from somebody who, I do digital artwork. I do digital stuff all the time. I like my computer stuff, but
Yeah.
you need to balance it. And just,
Yeah, you do. And that's not what we're saying. We're not saying CGI is completely evil and should not exist anymore.
Right.
I mean, again, real quickly, Star Wars prequels, I wish there would have been less of it, but he created a really cool looking world there.
Right.
And the action sequences, even though they're mostly CGI, they're all CGI, were really cool looking, because it was good CGI. But there's a time to, mix it.
Yeah.
And this is what we keep hammering, the point we keep hammering home.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get rid of CGI. Use it sparingly. You know?
And they're going to use it in the episode 7 of
I know.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
But if you look at even just the trailer, they're being pretty hush-hush. But if you look at the trailer, I'm excited.
Oh.
I mean, I see the special effects and the stuff going around, and it makes me think of the original trilogy.
Exactly.
Just the trailer.
That's why I teared up.
Yeah. And honestly, when I saw Phantom Menace, the trailer for that for the first time, yes, I was excited.
Oh, I was brutal excited.
Because it's Star Wars, and of course I was excited, but I was not nearly excited as much as seeing this trailer.
That's very well put, and I'm glad because I remember when I saw the first Phantom Menace trailer. I mean, I had goosebumps. I'm like, yeah, here we go, and it looked cool. It looked a whole different. But you're right, it didn't hearken my heart back to the original trilogy, and whereas this does in 2 minutes time.
Yeah.
And I'm not joking, folks. I teared up, and the first time I saw it, I almost wept. And I still get choked up when I see the preview. I've watched it a gazillion times.
Well, me too.
And it's not just, like you said, it's not just because that little end. That's what got me the first time. I felt tear coming down. Like, Chewie, we're home. And then Chewie growls. I'm like, oh, there they are. It's like seeing your parents again after you thought they were dead or something. But that's, of course, emotionally, that's what gets me. But also, I'm getting choked up thinking about that scene right now.
They're sitting in the Millennium Falcon. Yeah. They're sitting in the
exactly.
Coming
you
out.
See that,
it's not a green screen behind it.
Exactly. But also, the special effects. I'm watching this and I'm getting giddy. Like, oh, practical effects, and it's making my heart glad, know. And I can't wait. Forget about the script right now. I can't wait to see his blend of practical and CGI.
Yep.
And Miller started the year off
really strong,
genius with it.
Oh yeah.
So, and I know Abrams can do it, and I know he will. And there's a rumor that this is off the subject, but there's a rumor that in a passing shot there's going to be the bones of Jar Jar Binks somewhere. And I hope, and it's not confirmed, but he's hinted to it, and that would be neat.
That would be pretty neat.
That would be neat. But yeah, you're right. CGI, don't get rid of it. Use it sparingly.
Yeah, no, I think you said it beautifully earlier on in the podcast. It's the sous chef, not the chef.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the chef makes the meal, puts it on the plate, and the sous chef decorates around it.
Right.
To make it look prettier, sauce it a little bit, for the presentation. Thank you. I'm proud of that all of a sudden.
No, damn good quote.
I just rattled that out. Yeah, I'm proud of it now.
You should put that on our page with your name at the end of it.
Please.
Damn good quote.
I want kudos for my chef quote there. No, but I'm not looking for recognition, people. No, and that's the way it should be.
Yep.
So, all right. Give us your thoughts on CGI.
Yes, CGI. Like it, hate it.
Yeah.
You agree with us?
Yeah.
What was the worst you've seen? What's the best you've seen?
Exactly. Do you want more? Yeah. Do you want less? Are you excited for Jurassic World? I'd like to know, because that's heavily CGI.
Discussions. Yeah. I love discussions. So
okay.
I love reading it. Every time I get a new widescreen, a podcast discussion alerts on my phone. It's the first thing I eagerly pull out my phone so I can click
me
on
too.
It.
And I like seeing, trust me guys, I love seeing so-and-so liked your comment in widescreen, so-and-so liked your post. But I get giddy, like you said, when I see so-and-so commented on your... Yeah. So we enjoy the comments, and you're all doing really great. We appreciate all the comments. We don't always agree, but that's what this is for.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's our CGI podcast.
Yep.
Let's continue the discussion on the Facebook group. I want to continue the discussion. On this one, I really do.
Yes, me too.
Like our superhero podcast, folks, nobody seemed to...
Yeah.
You may have listened to it, but nobody... Maybe there's not a lot to comment on. Who knows?
Yeah,
but I'd really like to hear from our listeners on this.
Yeah, we got a good one for the Mad Max.
Yeah.
That's exciting. I like it still going.
It's still going. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, the CGI one, I think especially after some of the recent news with Rick Baker and just some of the movies coming out,
yeah,
this discussion needs to continue.
It does need to continue, and I'm still... You bringing it up again, I can't fathom Rick Baker retiring due to lack of work.
Yep. It's just...
I can't even believe I just said that sentence.
Despicable.
I think I just spoke Swahili or
yeah,
German because I don't understand the words that came out there.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, all right. This has been I hope it was a fun podcast, but a more serious podcast.
It's very serious, but
you may have known. So this is Tony, and this podcast was so on the level and serious, I have no funny quip to leave on.
Yep, I don't have one either. This is Bill, and as always, see you later.